Thanks so much for being here this evening in our endeavor to find out really how we can use technology in order to do business a lot better, and thank all of you for taking the time out tonight to discuss this. So just to start off with, I just want to get an idea of the trends, particularly in your businesses and in different industries that are emerging today. In terms of technology, what are the new things you're noticing that are particularly relevant to your businesses? Vipin, if I can start with you.
The challenge which we have as a manufacturing organization is the ability to support infrastructure. The process industry historically in India and globally is usually located in areas which are so-called backward, and backward meaning you have poor infrastructure, which means telecommunications and physical access is always a challenge. The challenges which we have and which we will be facing is ability to use technologies out of such locations, because at the end of the day, manufacturing can happen only in such locations, as opposed to service sector where the operations are in urban areas with fairly good infrastructure. However, I think with the growth of technology in many of these areas, there are a lot of technologies which we have adopted because it suits us. When you're looking at areas like cloud computing, that's perfect for us, because if I have an infrastructure located in locations where engineers cannot reach, I'd rather have it on a cloud where they can reach. But the flip side is that I need to have good access. So it's actually a balance, but we are getting there.
Okay, let me bring in Mr. Batra also at this stage, and I'm sure there's some similarities in really what you're hearing from Mr. Kumar.
Yes, there's some similarity definitely, because I'm also from a manufacturing industry. However, I wanted to just bring out the challenges and issues faced by the small and medium enterprises. In India, the small and medium enterprises have lagged behind in IT implementation and adoption, except for some of the very few, the progressive companies or the larger of these companies, or companies which are into progressive areas which are more up to date, like automotive. Other than that, if you see it, the SMEs in India are very primitive.
Right.
You may not believe it, the people in this room or the panelists may not believe it. They are companies still, SMEs, located in large cities or in industrial areas who don't have an email ID today.
It's hard to imagine that actually.
That's what,
in today's day.
That is the situation still. Or if they have an email ID, what I mean to say is, if they have an email ID which is not checked regularly, I consider that as an email ID which is checked regularly, and where you send a message without making a phone call, you will get a reply to that. So that doesn't happen. So that is one thing. Now, I'd like to come back to issues as to why this is there later on.
Okay. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's also just get in your thoughts.
I was doing an audit of one of my group companies a few days back, and I saw there are around 200 applications which are being used, small and big applications. Some are CRM, ERP, SAP, some ingrown applications. There is lack of integration of all these applications, which has led to procurement of around 238 servers. So the storage has become a big challenge for us, because if you see, typically even the cloud computing offering that we get, we are evaluating actually cloud computing from the last 2 years. The kind of quotes we get and the kind of security concerns that people in-house have has stopped us to go ahead with the cloud computing. Even if still we want to go to the cloud computing, we are not very sure how the applications will be integrated across different platforms that we have, which is again a big challenge. Plus the mobility of the users to connect from different locations all across the world. That's the biggest challenge for us.
Let me also get in some of your thoughts as well, Mr. Rajan, as to what you're seeing in your industry.
See, my industry, I come from the tractor industry. Now, in tractor industry, the customer, the dealer, they are primarily based out of very, very urban or not so urban areas, semi-urban areas or rural areas. Now, the key challenge which is here is how do you connect with them? How do you know their problems? How do you understand what is your sale? What is your demand happening? These are the key challenges. But over a period of time, we have taken a lot of steps in this direction, with connectivity also improving, 3G getting launched up, cloud also entering into the picture. We are today in a position to get over some of these challenges, if not all.
Okay. Are you already seeing that? Have you been able to use a technology in some way to perhaps make things more efficient?
Absolutely. See, just a year back, we implemented an I2, this one. Now, one key challenge in tractor industry is how do you produce a tractor which the market wants, point in time? Because in tractor industry, there are so many different models, so many different variants. We have more than 300 odd variants. So how do you know what is the demand forecasting? How do you collect the demand forecasting from the model, from the dealer, and from the region? Because this is a very, very seasonal industry. Translate that into a consolidated demand, and then go back to the OEMs to get the parts. Because in tractor industry, getting the right part at the right time is also a very huge challenge. So after implementing this I2, we actually brought in the customer demand so close to us that today our planning cycle is now only 7 days. And we are almost on a GID model as far as the inventory is concerned. And we almost saved close to more than 50 odd crores on this.
Okay, so that's a great example. Let me also bring in Manisha at this point. What are you seeing as well, and what are some current examples that you could perhaps give of how some of these concerns could be addressed and how technology could actually be used in order to make things more efficient and productive?
Well, we've been, from customers that we interact with, we've been seeing varying trends. So if I look at, let's look at an example where I've seen a very interesting use of technology in the area of FMCG. Right, this customer is producing perishable goods all the time, and one of the biggest challenges, and which is maybe 20 to 25% of the business goes in terms of cost of inefficiencies, in terms of the entire supply chain of getting that good to the customer in time and having it consumed without producing more, and putting it down the supply chain. And one of the unique solutions they used was mobility solutions that essentially brought down the waste in the entire cycle on the supply chain in terms of their sales side by close to 50 to 60%. Now that was a very interesting use of technology where mobility intervened. Another trend, and especially where Manu's problem has, I think cloud, and rather than come to cloud, I would say technologies like virtualization, open computing. Frankly, the more we see trends moving towards open computing, which is what is really delivering productivity to customers. So gone are the days where organizations were implementing proprietary technologies for different applications. The problem you have is legacy systems across the evolution of your IT, which lends it very difficult to leverage technologies like cloud to provision services to your users. And that's primarily the proprietary technologies one would have adopted. I think open computing is an answer to most of these problems, which is why you see most cloud models are on open systems.
Talking about legacy issues as well, if we see it from a different point of view, and let me come across to you on this as well, Min. Particularly in the case of a conglomerate or a company that has various businesses, how do you actually decide where to try out some of these new services first? Do you look at an existing business? Do you look at it first as a new business? And what are some of the challenges there?
See, the thing is that whenever you try out any new ideas, The key is that you have to assess whether the specific business or the customer really needs it. Okay? There is no hard and fast rule that it's easier to start with an existing establishment or an existing environment or with a new organization. If there is a good business case and if there is a good business reason to do something, whether it's an old organization or whether it's a new one, they will adapt it. And that's been our experience.
I'm guessing, Atul, that some of these, Mr. Batra, that some of these principles would apply even to a small and medium enterprise.
Yeah, the principles definitely apply. But you know, as I mentioned,
Right.
the penetration is still pretty less. And one main reasons for that is, one is awareness. Then second is, lack of people to implement it. And third is the lack of products. I think people here are, need to address this issue, that people don't realize that the products have to be tuned for some very small businesses also.
What do you think, Manisha?
He's pointed out a very relevant need. In fact, today if you see cloud models are exactly where these SMEs are sweet spots for the cloud model, because you're really talking about being able to deliver applications on the cloud on a per user model where the IT intervention required at probably at the end user end is next to nil. The capability that one needs to be able to set up systems in large organizations you can acquire those capabilities and sustain them over a period of time. But for SMEs, that's a real problem, and that's where cloud comes in. And I think a lot of SMEs are taking advantage of that. They are the early adopters of cloud because it just makes business sense.
If you look at face of customer and businesses has been changing and evolving with technology, and social media, as we talked about, which is extensively using the technology, is really turning out to be a business enabler from the perspective of way organizations are doing business, from the perspective of way organizations are interacting with their customers, from the perspective of way organizations are taking feedback from them, the way they are handling this feedback, and yes, of course, improving the CSAT by using the social media. Specifically from the perspective of emerging businesses, this is turning out to be a really handy and useful tool, because if you look at most of the social networking sites, they really provide you a platform to make yourself visible. Okay, so once you are there and you are able to create yourself identified out there, you can really enhance and further your business out there. You can create customer loyalty, as I said. You can really create some sort of positive vibes about your brand also using the social media. And of course, it basically creates an environment of trust from control. So in a traditional business, which is the way it is run, you really change the environment of control to an environment of trust. So these are some of the things which social media is really enabling. And from a perspective of emerging businesses, yes, of course, it's a very important tool. Time to market also crashes. So something which you have sort of innovated or you have launched new, you really don't need to use the traditional methods of launching that product or propagating that product. You come on the websites, the social media networking sites, get some of the loyal customers. Maybe some of the promoters for you can write blogs, and through those blogs which create the vibes, it can really enhance the business for you. Yeah.
So many of our organizations, we have such a huge mobile workforce. It presents certain challenges to both security, accessibility. How does IT help in that regard? Let me ask you.
See, actually, the security issue is really, I would say, some kind of a hype. There is really no security threat. I think it's more in the mind than actually in the technology, really. For example, I think the example Manisha gave of money in the bank being safer than at your home. Similarly, if you ask your top management leadership, would they rather have an in-house mailing service or would they rather use BlackBerry? I think the answer is very clear. So you don't have security risks because the quality of security of third-party service providers, especially on the cloud, has to be up to scratch, has to be of a particular level before anybody would use it.
Purushottam, let me also get in your perspective. We heard from Vipin that he thought that security was really not such a big issue, but in some cases where it's perceived as such,
Yeah.
where there is a large mobile workforce, how do you feel IT can help?
See, a large mobile workforce, if you ask me, is an essence for any customer-facing organization today. First of all, it enables you that a large chunk of your sales force or the field force is there in touch with the customer and doing their job in field. Now, enabling them is something which is necessary. So, through the mobile devices which they can use outside, they can utilize the enterprise resources, etc., which can enhance their productivity, which can keep them in touch with not only customers but internal organization as well. And of course, it increases a lot of, I mean, it produces a lot of benefits for the mobile workforce. Of course, mobility, if you ask me, is second to security in CIO's mind, and it brings a lot of apprehensions with regard to security. But there are various ways and means through which you can ensure that the mobile workforce adheres to certain norms and ensures that it doesn't create any threat in terms of security for the organization. So categorically, if you categorize it in three parts, one would be people, second would be technology, and third would be processes. So from the perspective of people, you need to train people as to one is they use the devices which have been given by the organizations, which are secure, which have got encrypted passwords, etc., which sites they can, which attachments they can download, and which they are not supposed to download, so that there is no threat in terms of malware, etc., etc. Second, as I said, would be with regard to the deployment of technology. So one could be having secure VPNs, so that whenever there is an entry to the network, it comes through secure VPN, so that the internal IT of the organization doesn't come to threat. And third is with regard to the procedures and processes. So there are security policies which most of the organizations today deploy. So getting those mobile devices part of the security policy and ensuring that they adhere to the policy. So the passwords are changed automatically, or passwords are changed consistently, and even if there is a misuse of the device, the data inside, if it is in encrypted form, it will prevent the loss of data and access to the organization.
Let me just start to get closing comments then from our panelists. Let me just just start off with you, sir, in terms of, finally then, if you would just wrap up in terms of, if you had to conclude how IT does help in your business and what else you would like to see going ahead. A couple of things that you could just outline.
Yeah, see, IT has always been the backbone of business. Agree or don't agree, you have to agree in the 21st century. Now the point is how much of that IT you leverage and how you leverage it. This is on a case-to-case basis. As somebody was pointing out, whether cloud we should go, whether cloud will give me benefits or not. So you have to define your own roadmaps, your own paths, depending upon your own solutions. One of the key areas I will say is, let us say, the CRM, the customer-facing applications. A branded CRM, if you go for a hosting on a cloud, is far more cheaper than if you put the same CRM on, you buy it and then you use it. It's damn expensive. So this is how you have to actually leverage your own roadmap, and you have to align your IT very closely with business, what business wants, and what is the benefit you can deliver and how quickly. Because your boss is not interested in knowing that to roll out a CRM you require X cost, so much of infrastructure, so much of time. He is not interested. He says, this is my problem. Tell me how quickly, cost effectively you can solve it. That is where the true worth of IT comes. Whether you do it in-house, whether you do it through the cloud or through any other means, that is your true worth. That is what you have to achieve.
I can see Mr. Kumar nodding in agreement.
Yeah, I think I would endorse what he says, that it is the backbone. You know how, you should know how to use it. It really doesn't matter how, what form it comes in. Each form has its own challenges, and you need to understand that and harness it.
Mr. Batra?
Yeah, I think with the social media and the cloud coming up, and progressive companies like Wipro around, they can definitely penetrate increase the penetration of IT in small industries. I think there's a good chance. There, I mean, I didn't get to say this earlier, but there are companies which are very IT savvy who are deploying various applications, even in the small sector. I mean, it's just to give you an example, we are linked to the extent that when we send some material from our factory, the material is leaving from a factory, a customer knows what invoice number, what items are coming in that truck, what is the truck number, what is the driver's phone number. So he knows it's leaving from location X, coming to his location Y. So he knows this takes approximately 1 hour. So if it has not reached, if it's critical or something, he can contact that guy directly, you know.
Right.
That is the kind of systems are there
So those
now.
are the kind of things you'd also like to see to develop
that's right.
further.
So, you know, you have got such systems also deployed.
Right. Manu?
Well, I agree with what everybody said, that technology is the backbone. But I think the role of CIOs is now changing. So it's no more a tactical decision maker where he decides, okay, what kind of servers or what kind of networking technologies, what kind of applications. But I think it's more to do with the strategic evolvement of his own responsibilities onto growing the revenues through the technology or creating more operational efficiencies within his processes, within his domains. And sooner or later, whether it is cost, whether it is security, we are embracing cloud computing. So that's next big thing that we'll see.
And that is something everyone has to understand how to use. Purushottam?
So I feel that IT has been changing its role for businesses. So from a business necessity, it moved on to business enabler to business propeller. And if today you ask me, IT has actually started creating competitive advantage for businesses. So reduced time to market, that's one of the things which is a competitive advantage which a business can really deploy by having right kind of technology rather than any other business which has not really used it. It gives more bandwidth for people in the organization to focus on their core competencies rather than really worrying about the IT, which is like at the back end. So it's really enabling business, it's propelling business, and it's creating competitive advantage for the businesses.
And finally, Manisha.
You know, whatever the trends around IT, I think the adoption by, whether that's for the enterprise sector or for the SMEs, finally the adoption needs to justify just 3 tenets that the the business heads are looking for, which is, how is it making me more competitive? How is it making me more responsive to my customers? And how am I innovating and differentiating vis-a-vis my competition? I think these are the only 3. If you can answer those with any trend in technology, that's here to stay.
All right, thank you. There's key things to take away, actually key thoughts to take away. Thank you all so much for joining us on this discussion tonight. It was wonderful to hear from all of you.